I can hear the squeaks from a mile away. It is that time. It's time for the Squeaky Wheel. Folks, thank you again for joining us. For all of you out there who are listening, it is National Fried Chicken Day, which is tying us off nicely because as the Stampedes roll into town, we know there's going to be no shortage of fried chicken. And before we get into that, I also want to say it's National Farriers Week, which also happens to be coinciding nicely with the Stampede. Lawrence, is it fried chicken for you, or have you tried the Nashville hot chicken?
Oh God, I haven't tried any of those. Just kidding. I had fried chicken before, but definitely I tried the Nashville hot. I can't do that. No.
Did you have? You probably had fried chicken for breakfast.
Yeah. No.
And if it's going to be that time, if it's National Fried Chicken Day, you know what? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. We got to try and find a way to have chicken for all of them. But yeah, National Farriers, which are those champions of our animals out there who ensure that our large animals are always well taken care of. If you know one, make sure you send them a message. The Stampede is rolling to town, Lawrence, July 8th to the 17th. Here we go. You know, we talk all the time. We're extremely excited that the chuck wagons are back. We're extremely excited that the parade's going to happen this year. We're going to see a lot of excitement for people who are willing to get out there and connect. The oil industry's back making good money again. I think there's going to be some pretty good parties. You know, I like to think that this is another one of those national events that is going to be celebrated. There's always going to be the occasional groups out there, and we try to comment about them all the time. Oh, you know, these animals are getting hurt. Folks, these animals are taken better care of than you are. So, you know, we're there to support all the families who take care of all these animals and these athletes and animal athletes that we all cherish. But I'm excited about the chucks this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything coming back to normal. You know, we were at the Airdrie Rodeo last couple of days, and first time we had the rodeo here in 3 years. So it was quite busy and everyone seemed pretty happy. But, you know, there was a few wrecks, concerns with some of the cowboys, but, you know, that's the danger of the game that they're in, right? So,
well, and with the storms that are happening,
yeah,
as they do even during Stampede, make sure you've also got your rain jacket. And considering the fact that they're skiing in sunshine this weekend and this week of this long holidays, we don't know what, you know, you might have to take a parka down with you to the Stampede grounds because as this is starting to line up, you never know. That's the beauty of living in Alberta. You never know, the temperature could change and have 20-degree swings by the hour, which always seems a bit crazy to me.
Yeah, last year, I think around this time we had a heat wave, really bad one. And there was smoke everywhere and yeah. That's
right. The smoke was coming through. It was just, our seniors were getting beat up and everybody wanted to be outside, and yet you almost had to stay inside because the smoke was so bad.
Yeah, we were praying for rain back then, but this year we're not praying for rain. You know, we're praying for sun.
We're praying for our rain gutters to hold up because how quickly it's pouring down. Make sure you check the websites, albertametis.com, or you can definitely check ours, the squeakywheel.com. or makers squeakywheelcompany.com. TSW at the squeakywheel.ca.
Yeah.
Company.ca. There we go. Sorry. And also go to metis3.org. This is where you're going to find out about all the exciting things that are happening. There's a barbecue coming on July 15th. There's a business mixer that's happening on July 21st. There's a seniors get together on July 22nd. There's going to be another mixer for all of the Indigenous community that's coming for our AGA on August 4th to the 7th, but there's going to be another mixer. I think that one's RSVP only on August 4th. And then there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about for education and business opportunities. But Lawrence, let's talk about the business mixers and the barbecue.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we decided to do the mixers through the summer this year just because, you know, COVID kind of dampened a lot of that. And we need more life in our community, at least people together and meet one another. So, you know, we plan to do that through the summer, and going to the Lockheed House is more of an event too than really anything than just a mixer, right? So just having that experience available for our members. And then, of course, our getting ready for the Stampede barbecue, which is, you know, an open house for an opportunity for people to see the office too. and to see music and all those great things. And then look towards August 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th here at the Grey Eagle. And that'll be our provincial assembly. So we're pretty excited about that. So the Friday night, there'll be rodeo and music and all that. And then Saturday be the same, but it'll be a dance and dinner type thing. So yeah, we're pretty excited.
Well, and having just been to Metis Fest and having had the opportunity for the band Metis and the Grande to play there, I know, it's funny within the Metis community. It's not like we plan 6 months in advance. It seems as though, hey, you know what? There's an event coming and everybody is invited. So as much as I've looked at it before going, yeah, but shouldn't we have this and everything locked down in our calendars? You know what? When the day's been picked, just plan to come. There is no doubt in my mind that there's going to be space for everybody. And, at Metis Fest, there's so much going on for the kids. They had so much going on for educational opportunities. There was every different age group. If you were looking to start maybe a career path, there was groups down there that were there for that. There was the artisans. There was playing different games. And then there was, even for me, I was trying different types of bannock that I actually hadn't had before. And it could just be the way that it was cooked. But honestly, when you're putting a little bit of jam and honey on your bannock beside the North Saskatchewan River in the just most beautiful green part of the valley, I got to admit, my bannock even tasted a little bit better. What I do need, Lawrence, is maybe this is something, we've talked about this before. We need to start the Squeaky Wheel Pemmican brand, because my experience with eating different types of pemmican is extremely limited. So any of you listening out there, just throwing this idea around, if you're using the Squeaky Wheel Pemmican snack treat, just all we ask is 90% of the profits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we're pretty excited about these events, but at the same time, you got to remember, the past leaders always did the same sort of dates and have never taken anything away from the past ones. And in fact, each event, we've enhanced them just a little bit more. And even with Métis Crossing, because I've been here since 2014. I remember it was just a red barn and an open field, and that was it. Now look at it now. People are going, they're staying at the lodge or experiencing the conference center, all those things. And the Métis Nation is changing. We're keeping the old, but we're enhancing everything we've done in the past. And I just want to make that comment to people, right? Because, people always assume you're going to take things away when you become president. And no, that's not my intent. It's always to enhance what we've already done in the past and try to get more money into each one of those events too, because that's important.
And actually, you hit on something that's a really good note. Though I hadn't been to Metis Fest before, some of the events that I've attended, just get bigger. And like you said, they just get better. I'm looking at this lodge that holds 40 people and all these different little, just the beauty of this brand new lodge. Right across the road, there's buffalo paddocks. Just down, there's, I think, a herd of 5,000 buffalo within that community. The water's running. And then they're also starting to put up all of these they're almost like plastic yurts that have clear tops to them. And then throughout the summer, you'll be able to rent these. And as you fall asleep underneath the stars, you may see the northern lights. That's sort of what their goal is. So you feel as though you're sleeping outside, but there's definitely a bit more comfort in glamping, I guess would be the term for it. Mm-hmm. But it's always getting a little better. Even our own events, you're right, Lawrence. When we used to go to the pancake breakfast, they were quite small. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's a little bit more music happening. Then there's more of an open mic. Then we have a little bit of a better stage. There's there was more opportunities for people to come out and have discussion. You would always give a polite address to everybody who's there and an opportunity to ask questions. Mm-hmm. We know with the AGA is coming up, and this is sort of part of the format of the Squeaky Wheel is to have part of these discussions. But you're right. Each thing is always getting a little more fun, a little more involved. And now we're starting to really focus on including the youth all the way to the elders in every one of the events. That way everybody gets a chance to participate.
Yeah. And also, in my way of thinking and funds and how to really get the most out of the money and get the most members involved is to always have frequent events, as much as possible. No, I understand people want to do these weekend one time and spend all your money events, right? Which is great. But I always like to spread things out over the months and try to get to as many people as possible. So it's a real balancing act, right? Because I'm not really willing to spend all the dollars all at once. I would like to spread it out.
Well, and this isn't the Oscars. I like the idea that we actually get together more frequently. And when you see those people that you haven't seen in like a month or, because we're trying to have these events a little more frequently, walk up to them and say hi to them just like a friend, because I always appreciate it. Everybody knows I have a terrible memory when it comes to people's names, but I always remember the context of our conversation. And when they come up and say, I've seen you on the Squeaky Wheel, or I've seen your band, or I've appreciated our conversation in the past, that means everything to me. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Some of the new programs that are happening are, if you go to albertametis.com or follow the Voyager Voice, or make sure you reach out to our Métis 3 office, our regional office, because you can be added to the newsletter that gets mailed out. Always good information. There's a Digital Dreamers program. It's a 26-week program sponsored by Momentum. And their help with placements, they help with education, and their combination with SATE and the Métis community. If you start registering now, it's a program that'll take you through understanding digital connection for students, and it starts September 19th. So if you have kids of that age, or even yourself who are interested in attending one of these classes, register early. Appear on Resources Limited. If you go to their website, as well as if you follow on the newsletter, lots of different job opportunities and every type of different skill set. You don't have to be, masters or PhD and things. They're looking for people in all sorts of different walks of life to fill certain roles. Let's talk, Lawrence, a little about the papal visit, because that's coming at the end of July. What do you know?
The papal visit?
Tomato.
I know.
I'd be curious as to what he says.
I have been speaking with, some of the bishops, and, they're looking for individuals who are willing to get on a bus and go up to the gathering on Muscochis, the gathering at the Commonwealth Stadium, and the gathering at Lac Saint Anne. So that is the plan, and that'll be the end of July. And that's certainly the date. But, we know with the papal health, he has canceled some in the past because he is getting a little, elderly too. So we hope that he'll be here in Alberta, and predominantly northern Alberta, which is great, and get as many members there as possible to hear what he has to say, and for him to visit such an Indigenous gathering place like Lac Saint Anne. It's been there for many, many years. My mom remembers going there as a child, and I'm sure a lot of people remember, and the healing quality to that lake, so, and then also the First Nation Mass, as well as the Métis Mass that they have there too. So, and they've been doing that for years.
Well, and as a big shout out to my very good friend who brings in the music at the start of our show, Alex Kustrok, when I was up at Metis Fest, I was talking to an individual who was part of sending the delegation over to Italy. And she was saying afterwards, she had heard back from the organizing team that the Pope's, one of pretty much his favorite thing was the fiddle music that happened during that visit. And, the fact that Alex was so generous to connect with us and allow us, to share part of his music. And though my friend, when I had met him, B.B. King had played for a couple of popes during his long tenure, Alex is the only other person I know. So it's pretty neat. I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out at the end of July. But you're right. Elon Musk and his family recently had a visit with the Pope. So he does have a little bit of strength, and who knows what it took for Elon. Did he have to give him some Bitcoin, offer to sell him part of Twitter? What did it take for his family to meet the Pope? But they had that opportunity. But a question for you, Lawrence, is when the Pope does come over, what do you figure his plane is like? It must be his own private plane?
Well, maybe he'll get a plane from Elon. I don't know. Maybe that's what they were talking about.
I'm pretty sure he's not coming to Air Canada because they've just started canceling many flights.
He'll be stuck in the Pearson Airport for a couple hours. Yeah. But
that's right.
Looking for his bags.
They'd still be looking for his bags for up until 2023.
Yeah.
And it's that bag would probably just full of robes and hopefully a few more rosaries that he carries along with him.
But Elon Musk probably danced his way in to see the Pope too. I heard he's a really good dancer. You got to see him, or YouTube it and see.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic dancer. Yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, because I'm sure you're more familiar with it, but what type of dance does he do?
I don't know. It's kind of more like a chicken possessed, or maybe having a bit of a fit. Yeah, you got to see it.
Okay, I'll have to look him up. I know that there's always lots of different videos on Elon Musk because, of course, he's such a celebrity, or he's a very connected individual right now in the global community of everybody wondering. Anytime he makes a comment, you should be buying the stock that he comments about, because it's going to shoot up for a short period of time before it may or may not come back down again in just more of a reaction. Thoughts and prayers always out to the families and the community in the Ukraine war that's happening. Sanctions are trying to continue to happen. But Lawrence, we talk about it every week, and sadly it's becoming almost a bit more commonplace, just the violence that's happening in North America, much less, the tragedies that happen around the world. But even this last week in British Columbia, 2 twin brothers were trying to do a bank heist. And these are 22-year-olds. There was apparently incendiary bombs that were found in the vehicle that they had. I don't know what they expected. Was this the intent, that they didn't think that they were going to, come out of it? But there was a lot of injuries that resulted from this shootout, and both these 2 boys were killed. Could you just imagine, the horror that's happening, to the families that are left behind in this violence, and for what? I don't quite understand. Is this, they're trying to recreate a movie scene that they've seen, and they think that there's more glamour in it? With the way technology is nowadays, and including this week where there was a Calgary firefighter who got dragged in after an accident, and apparently the person tried to leave in the stolen vehicle that they crashed in, and he got dragged. Well, the helicopter simply followed that guy until he eventually came to a stop, and the police arrested him. So I'm not too sure what people are trying to think that they can achieve, but boy, is this not just a frightening time?
Yes, for sure it is. And my twins were just walking by, that kind of distracted me. But I guess they're here to check things out.
Yeah.
But speaking of twins, but people have hard times. People are, have different stories too, and who knows, what affected these guys to go that route. But it's sad when anybody loses their life, I think, either side. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, they are doing something pretty illegal
illegal, pretty violent. And,
that's right.
The police, as much as the police go, well, why'd they have to be so violent? I don't know if any of you have been on the other side of this kind of violence. And fortunately, in my world, in my career, I, haven't seen that type of terror. I'm in a very challenging career being a professional fire officer, but the notion that when violence is happening to you and you're there to respond to it, and then the struggles, the challenges you have to face after you've been part of dealing with this violence, I know that those officers are not in a happier space by knowing that these 2 individuals ended up losing their lives. So, but we have to, respect our officers and for the challenges that they face, because they're going into these very uncertain situations. Mm-hmm. Another big conversation that's happening out there is, and you cannot turn a blind eye to it, and you need to be respectful of the conversation, but Roe versus Wade. This is a conversation that's been in the Supreme Court, has been going on for 40 years. This has been a conversation, and maybe when a decision was made, maybe the conversation wasn't in such focus, but now that there's upheaval, but we need to be respectful of everybody's opinion. And if it was an easy answer, if people say, but no, it's an easy answer, then why are we still having such a division? Why are we having such a, that this has not been decided? This is a very personal decision. And I am very, very aware and conscious of the fact that I'm not necessarily there to provide a lot of my own opinion. I don't have as much familiarity, But I think we need to be respectful if people are going to talk. And we have to be very conscious of, let's not be too harsh judging somebody. We are not that individual. We don't know, the walk that they've had in the shoes they've worn and their challenges that they've faced. Faith is a big part of this conversation. So I think we need to be very respectful in this. And if honestly, if you all of a sudden start to find yourself in a heated conversation, it's okay to take a step back and say, maybe now is not the time for us to have this conversation, and walk away. Because, even like the discussions between COVID and anti-vaxxers, sometimes it's not about changing somebody's mind, because you're often not going to, but it's about listening or, removing yourself from the conversation so that you don't create too many hard feelings.
Well, for me, and certainly I take this opinion because I've kind of seen it in person a few times. And, I'm Métis, and, our Métis principle has always been, government doesn't really tell us what to do. And we kind of take that viewpoint even through this whole vaccination stage, and many Métis people standing up for the government. But I've seen the impacts of, a heroin addict who's pregnant. I've ran into that a number of times in the downtown east side. And it's a pretty dramatic thing to see when you see it in person. But it is there. And to understand that whole component completely, sometimes you got to see it for yourself to understand why it's important that women take control of their bodies a little bit and the decision making, and not letting government really decide that. And the whole Roe versus Wade thing, well, that's a political thing. It's not about It's not about the human beings. It's about them regaining control or keeping control of the Senate, right? And that's all that's about. It wouldn't matter whatever topic it is, they're going to overturn it just by principle and making their stand politically. But when you see the impacts, when you see the impacts of a woman in a certain stage where possibly that is needed, well, then you got to think of that baby that's going to be born, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we just have to be there sometimes to listen. That needs to be part of our responsibility. To something to celebrate, 50 years of Pride celebrated around the world. Now I know they had a huge party in Britain. Here's something I'm actually not 100% familiar with. Is the date of when the celebration of Pride the same everywhere in the world? I'm not trying to throw you on the spot. I was just sort of reading. I'm like, I knew celebrations were coming up, but I don't know if it's the same date for everywhere in the world. We celebrate different holidays or different celebrations, sometimes at different times. Like the war ended for countries at different times, but did Pride start at the same time, or are they celebrated a little bit differently? And if somebody knows the answer, folks, make sure you send us an email, and I'll try to look it up to have a better understanding for next week. But this was just something I wanted to celebrate because I saw it as I was doing one of my news feeds, and this was being celebrated in Britain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the history, unfortunately, but maybe we have a meeting with their association and we can ask these questions, in a positive,
I like the idea
safe
of us
manner.
going to Britain.
Yeah, exactly. But certainly, we're supportive of their group, and Dan Cardinal, who's our provincial vice, is involved in that community and has been for a number of years. But we look forward to speaking to him.
Dan Cardinal, very good friend of both of ours. What an absolutely wonderful man. Flight cancellations, Lawrence. We were joking about the Pope trying to, if you're trying to find bags as you move anywhere around this country, it is going to impact. And if any of you are thinking of traveling, just keep in mind that AC's been canceling a lot of their flights. But if you're trying to go through Pearson, just be very, very, very aware of the challenge. Lawrence, the light's on. I think the signal's going. It's time for us to have a conversation about Indigenous plants. What do you got for us today?
Well, today I got a plant called SENECA root, and it's generally near wooded areas, and it's used for fainting spells. And after an attack, you drink tea made of SENECA root and wild aster root, and you boil 1 Seneca root and 1 aster for 10 minutes in 3 cups of water, and you cool it down and you drink every half hour for 2 days. And if you can chew some Seneca root, that also helps too if you don't have access to a fire or anything like that. So that's for if you have fainting spells.
Where does it say where you normally go to find Seneca root?
Yeah, near wooded areas.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, all these medicines that we do talk about, it's probably good to speak to an elder or a medicine person and not we and you, right? We're a little too urbanized, I think. But
we should continue to share that conversation every time. Is yes, don't just go out there, start and pick anything and just boiling it up and starting to drink it or eat it. Yes, make sure if you're going to listen to us, read more about it, have a conversation with a certified healthcare provider. And there's a lot of natural paths out there. And I think there's way more conversation that's happening within the Indigenous community, like you've said before, to try and connect in the world of pharmacology and what were the plants that were being traditionally used, because the genomes of everybody based on their history and their genealogy can be a little bit different and how we respond to things. Let's close out, Lawrence, with the last little bit of our time. The Minions movie. We've talked about Top Gun. We've talked about the other ones. Are you planning on going to see it? Because, I love those little guys.
Which one, sorry?
The Minions.
The Minions. Well, we seen the trailer when we were watching Jurassic World with the kids.
Yeah.
So they'll probably go want to see it. So I'll take them.
They're pretty keen to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
and with the Stampede coming this year, I wonder what is going to be, and this will be a challenge to you and I, Lawrence, who's going to come home with the coolest stuffy from the Stampede, because the Minions used to be the one that led the charge, right? There's so many years where you couldn't walk around anywhere without seeing a Minions character to be won at the Stampede. And I always enjoy their movies. I think they're so fun. They're so lighthearted. The Minions remind me of you and I, just a bunch of doofuses running around, seemingly bumping into each other. But I'm excited to see that movie. And then otherwise in the world of sport, Blue Jays did some winning, did some losing. But Nick Kyrgios, he's the Australian tennis player. He was just playing Tsitsipas from Greece. And you can't seem to get away from, it was a great match. I watched it. But the one Kyrgios is just seemingly a bully. And he gets penalized. And that's not really the kind of style that seems to happen in tennis. But yet, maybe it's bringing more attention to the sport. Maybe that's just how he needs to play to try and win. But he did win that match. But a lot of conversation about bullying, and I don't like bullies. So I'm curious as to, is it bullying or is it just sport? For all of you who've been watching tennis around the world, we may have lost Lawrence there at the end of our show, but I want to say I appreciate every time I get an opportunity to have a conversation with my very good friend, the President, Lawrence Gervais. Stampede, make sure you get out there, share the connection with your family, get out there and eat the occasional mini donut, support all of our local vendors, support everybody local, close to home, and make sure you consider all of what's happening around the globe. From all of us here at the Squeaky Wheel, from everybody behind the scenes, thank you so much. Thank you for the connection. Make sure you subscribe to us, send us your comments, and we look forward to squeaking with you again. The Squeaky Wheel is brought to you by the Squeaky Wheel Company, co-hosted by the President, Lawrence Gervais, from M&A Region 3, and the Captain, Ross Memphis Pambrun. Our program is broadcast from Calgary, in Region 3 of the Métis Nation of Alberta, which is part of the historic Métis Nation homeland. We also acknowledge these lands are the traditional territories of Treaty 7, Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda, with whom we share this land on the basis of our historical and ongoing relationships. You can always reach us for comment about our programming by email at tsw@thesqueakywheel.ca or find us on our website, www.squeakywheel.ca, and our socials. For our comments, it is our focus to recognize all of our First Nations and Indigenous friends, share connection with Métis settlements, and listen to and show respect to our Métis brothers and sisters and families. Here at the Squeaky Wheel, we give thanks to our elders for their guidance and to Mother Earth for her time she allows us to be here and share her bounty. From all of us at the Squeaky Wheel, Tansi.